with the person called mother. So you are reminded of loving, affectionate, caring, nurturing. So for every word which you use, you can interpret that word in two ways. One, the standard meaning, another the meaning based upon your experience with that kind of a person. And if the receiver tries to decode the symbols in the same way as intended by the sender, communication is effective. So we can simply say that communication is sharing of meanings. Sharing of meanings. And the process of communication, when we talk about, there are a number of elements in the process of communication. Obviously, the very first element in the process of communication is sender, a person who is responsible for designing the message, selecting the symbol, and transmitting the message. Then there is another element called receiver of the message. And receiver tries to interpret the symbols, derive the meaning out of those symbols, and then provide feedback to the sender. And thus, the third important element in the process is the message. When I say message, I'm interacting with you, I'm trying to give you some message. And this message is nothing but it consists of verbal and non-verbal symbols. When I'm speaking, I'm making use of a language. It is a verbal message. But when I'm showing, say, I put a cross, red cross, that show itself will speak of the red cross, conveys you some message. It's a symbol which is, again, you can use. So it consists of verbal and non-verbal. Or I say, be quiet. And I simply show this. It's a non-verbal message which is a cross. So the message consists of verbal and non-verbal symbols. A process of encoding is involved in the process of communication. Anybody who would like to say what is encoding? Yes? People from electronics, they might be familiar with this word encoding.
Encoding is the process in which you are just getting the information from that particular what is saying there. The person is giving a code word and you are getting the information from that. You are converting whatever you have inside.
Yes.
And you are giving using word to express that and using body language to express that.
Okay.
That is
Okay, that means a sender of the message has certain ideas which need to be transmitted. So for transmitting that information, you need to select symbols which may be verbal or non-verbal. And this process of selecting symbols is referred to as the process of encoding. Right? Then we have, and sender is involved in the process of encoding. Then there are channels through which the messages sent across to the receiver. And channels can be, you can use different channels. It can be a printed material which you can use for transmitting the message. You have books, readers, instructional sheets, manuals. They also act as channel of transmitting the message. Or you can use an audio channel. You're using a telephone and you're sending a message. It's an audio channel. You're listening to the radio. It is an audio channel. You're listening to FM radio, audio channel. You are listening to audio tapes is an audio channel. But you can use visual channel where you can use some pictures, posters, graphs, diagrams, and that visual channel can be utilized. And another one could be the audio visual channel, which is a combination of audio and visual. So all your TV programs, the multimedia packages, the video films, they come under the category of audio visual channel. But a teacher tries to use a multiplicity of channels, and it's a combination of audio-visual channels. Then comes the decoding. Decoding is interpreting the symbols and deriving the meaning out of those symbols, and this process, this receiver does that. So receiver decodes the message, and there is element of feedback. Communication is a two-way process. It cannot be one-way process. Unless and until you receive feedback from your audience, you cannot decide the next subsequent message you would like to transmit to the receiver, because your next message is based upon the feedback you receive from the receiver. When you pose question in the class after explaining a concept, it is only to assure yourself that the students have understood the concept clearly, and then you try to design the subsequent message based upon the feedback you have received from your students. Another element is the element of noise. Noise is anything which creates hindrance in the process of communication. And noise can be internal or noise can be external. When I say external noise, say there is an air conditioner working in the room and there is hum of the air conditioner. That is an external noise. Somebody is entering the classroom, banging the door behind is an example of external noise. Or maybe your institution is very near to the airport, and many of times the airplanes which pass through, they create a lot of noise in the classroom situation. Or as you have seen in Haryana, the government polytechnic is just on the roadside, and there's a lot of traffic which passes through and the loud horns, and it creates a lot of problems in the classroom. That's an external noise. Internal noise can be that I'm, as a teacher, standing here, but I have a headache. This headache is causing noise, and maybe my rate of delivery slows down, or I may be very fast to cover the material. My communication is adversely affected. Or say for as a receiver, you are sitting on a chair which is not comfortable. So all the time you are shifting your postures, you like to move out, so you are not comfortable, so your attention is diverted number of times. So communication becomes ineffective. So noise element is there. Then there is a context to every communication. And when I speak of context, context can be physical context, psychological context, social context, or temporal context. Physical means where the communication is taking place. Is it in the classroom? Is it in the laboratory? Is it in the playground? Is it in the office room of the teacher? Because the nature and content of communication would vary depending upon the physical setting where the communication is taking place. Say for example, you are in the classroom, your communication is very structured, organized, planned. But when you are with your students in the playground, your communication becomes unstructured. Maybe you can talk about many things at one go, right? So it may not be that one theme or one topic is stretched over. You can laugh, you can weep, you can run, you can sit in the playground, but in the classroom, your communication will not have those components in that. When you are at home, the nature of communication is different. When you're in the office, the nature of communication is different. Psychological context is what kind of feelings exist within the sender and the receiver in a communicative situation. Now, think forward, when you joined the profession of teaching, the very first day you went to the college and you had to take a class. How many of you were afraid of the situation?
First time.
First time.
First time for I think everyone.
क्या हुआ था आपकी कम्युनिकेशन पे इफेक्ट किया था इस चीज ने? It will or it affected? कैसे? Maybe the person does not maintain eye contact with the audience. The rate of delivery may be very fast. There may not be interaction between the teacher and the student. There may not be more examples from field. Maybe you are not able to entertain questions from your student. Or you fumble for words if you are nervous, you are not confident, then you fumble and then you make mistakes in your communication. So if you feel that you are very secure in the communicative situation, then you are very confident on what you say. Right? So psychological context. If you are afraid of, you are fearful, then it adversely affects your communication. Social context refers to the social status of the two people who are involved in the process of communication. Now when I say teacher, teacher is talking to a teacher, another colleague. The communication will be very open, informal. But still, now teacher goes and talks to the head of the department. More formality creeps in. Teacher goes and talks to the director of the institute. Again, it will be more formal, structured communication. Think of the teacher going to the vice chancellor of the university and talking to that person. The social status, there's a lot of differentiation. So the vice chancellor enjoys high level of authority and teacher enjoys a lower level of authority. And thus there is difference in the nature and content of communication. You speak only what is required or desired in a given situation. So you become very formal as the distance increases. Temporal. Temporal context refers to the time dimension. At what point of time the communication is taking place? I just take an example from your institutions. All theory classes, they are planned in the morning. All practical classes, they are planned in the afternoon. Because learning by doing does not require deliberate attention on the part of the people. But when the student is sitting in the class, he has to listen. Then deliberate attention is required. And in the morning, the people are very fresh, and that's why theory classes where only listening is required, they are kept in the morning, and learning by doing all the practical work that is planned in the afternoon session. And many a times in your day-to-day life, you might have heard of, is this time appropriate for saying these things? We'll discuss these issues later. सुनने में मिलता है ना, बाद में बात करेंगे. अभी ये टाइम ठीक नहीं है इस बात को करने के लिए. That is atemporal. So when you communicate to anybody, all these four factors, physical, social, psychological, and temporal context, they interact among themselves to determine the content and nature of communication, right? So it is not one factor that affects the process of communication. And here you can see the relationship. Sender is involved in the process of encoding the messages designed, which consists of verbal and non-verbal symbol. The message is transmitted to the receiver through a channel. The receiver decodes the message and provides feedback to the sender of the message, and sender design sets modify the subsequent messages based upon the feedback. Element of noise can be present anywhere. It can be in the sender, it can be in the channel, it can be in the message, or can be in the receiver, and all this takes place in a context. This is what we refer to as the process of communication. In simple way, we can show the relationship between the various elements in the process of communication. And the same model can be translated into the classroom communication model. When we talk about the classroom communication model, so here you can see that classroom communication, there are a number of stages in the process of classroom communication. What do you do when you have to go to the class? The very first stage in classroom communication is formulation of message. The basis of formulation of message is the syllabus prescribed for a particular subject. So a teacher needs to refer to the syllabus to find out what is the breadth and scope of the topic which you are going to deal with deal in the classroom situation. And you try to first determine the breadth and scope, you prepare an outline, you try to collect material from various sources. Those may be books, reference books, journals, newspaper articles, and so on. And then you try to sift that material and you try to retain only that material which is relevant to the level to which you are going to interact. So you try to formulate a message. The second stage is encoding of message. So you decide whether I need to use verbal symbol or I can use a non-verbal symbol. So you, on the basis of the message, you decide where to show a diagram, where to show an illustration, where to show a graph, where to show a video clips. You try to find out what exactly, how you are going to transmit that message to your students. So you select verbal and non-verbal symbols. Third stage in classroom communication is transmission of message. So you select channels of communication. You are there, you are also audiovisual channel. People can see you, people can hear you, right? And at the same time you make use of PowerPoint presentation, you make use of video clips, you show animations and simulation. This is nothing but multiplicity of channels are utilized by the teacher in the classroom situation. And board is your versatile medium which can be used to your advantage and to the advantage of your students. You can use it. Right? Then decoding of the message is done by the students in the classroom and you try to receive the feedback from your students. Now see how these stages are interrelated in the classroom communication. The teacher is the primary sender of the message, right? And he or she is involved in formulation of message, decoding, encoding of message, transmission of message, and interpretation or decoding is done by whom? By the students. So receiver does the decoding and he tries to send the feedback in terms of the responses to the question, in terms of head nods, in terms of smile, in terms of attention given to that content, right? And at times, the student becomes the sender of the message and teacher becomes the receiver of the message. When this situation arises in the class? Yes?
When the student asks the question.
Very right. When the student poses a question, the student becomes sender of the message. When the student tries to clarify the doubts, he becomes the sender of the message. Or student has some information to supplement what you have said, he becomes the sender of the message. So student is involved in the process of formulation of message, उसको क्या कहना है? He then selects symbols, so he is involved in the process of encoding. He tries to transmit that message to the teacher and कई बार होता है ना, student हाथ खड़ा करता है, बोलता कुछ नहीं है. That itself is a non-verbal message to the teacher that the student wants to pose a question. Then he uses the verbal clue to pose a question. And here the teacher becomes the decoder of the message and he provides feedback to the sender of the message, the student. And that's why it is said that classroom communication, like any other communication, we have interactive model of classroom communication where the role reversal takes place. The sender becomes the receiver and receiver becomes the sender. That is the beauty of communication. And more kind of interaction which takes place in the classroom, more effective will be the classroom communication. Right? Now we quickly come to what are the factors that affect the process of classroom communication. Can I get a response from Baba Fareed, Institute of Technology and Management? What my colleagues think, what are the factors that can affect classroom communication? Yes? जी कोई तो बोलिए. Baba Fareed, Institute of Technology and Management. No response. जी मैम.
Yes, ma'am. Discipline may be one of the factors.
Discipline, okay. So discipline pertains to whom? The student, right? So one set of factors may be student-related factors that can affect. Thank you very much. Any response from Marugula Polytechnic? Marugula Polytechnic, Lakshmangarh. Okay, from ETV Studio, what are some of the factors that can affect classroom communication?
The
Teacher, okay. So one is teacher-related factors can affect the classroom communication. Who else is involved? Student. What else? Environment. Okay. So see here. So when we talk in terms of, and the fifth one is the environment. So you are very rightly identified that the factors that can determine the effectiveness, they can pertain to the teacher, primary sender of the message, how a message is designed, then the student who attends a particular or who are present in the communicative situation. Then you have methods and media which are utilized by the teacher to transfer. Whether you use lecture method, you use group discussion and so on. Then the learning environment in which the communication takes place. So now we take up one by one what are some of the teacher related factors that can affect classroom communication. So coming to the very first one, here you can see the teacher related. You see here, develop a realistic self-concept and the perception about the world around. I've used the word realistic, self-concept. Can you tell me what is self-concept? How it affects your communication? कभी ये सुनने को मिले?
Something about the audience that question है. And accordingly I prepare and I communicate.
नहीं, young student की बात ही नहीं आई, audience की बात ही नहीं आई. अपनी बात कर रही हूँ मैं. मेरा जो self concept है.
That is how I am understanding that body is all around me.
Okay.
That's the self concept. That I have decided that
Self concept means understanding about oneself. How do you view yourself? आपने कभी ये कमेंट सुना होगा, अपने आप को पता नहीं क्या समझता, क्या मतलब होता है इसका, क्या मतलब होता है? That high inflated ideas the person has that he is more on, but maybe the person doesn't know everything, है ना? Realistic self-concept means that you understand your strengths, you understand your weaknesses, you know your limitations and capabilities. And if you have a realistic self-concept, you will speak accordingly. But if you have unrealistic self-concept, maybe you are placed here or you are placed here. If you have very low self-concept, negative self-concept, then you will not have the confidence to share with others. And if you have very high self-concept, which is not realistic, then you may be boosting yourself that you know nothing. You actually are nothing, but you are boosting yourself. So here, you पहले भी कहाँ चला गया? So what is happening is a teacher, when he goes to the class, need to have very realistic self-concept about himself. Then only he will be talking at the same platform to the student, right? And otherwise, he may be very authoritarian when he goes to the class. And he becomes very nervous when he has a very negative self-concept about himself. Then the perception about the world. If you have positive perception about the world, that is, this world is worth living, then your orientation or attitude towards the world will be positive. It will be very motivating, but otherwise your communication becomes all demotivating. You will say nothing. You are completing your BTech. After that, what? You have no future. There is no job available. So you will be roaming on the roads, and you are giving all negative orientation to your communications. So your style of communication will be demotivating to the other person also. Then goes proficiency in the subject matter. There is no substitute for having adequate mastery over the subject matter. So, if the person has adequate subject matter mastery, then he can elaborate, he can explain, he can relate the subject to other subjects, he can relate the subject to other disciplines, and he can do justice with the questions which are there in the classroom by the student. So this is another. If you don't possess adequate subject matter mastery, then you will not be able to interact freely, naturally with your student. So your knowledge is superficial. So you will not be having a deeper knowledge of that subject. Then what is important is what my friend said, understanding of the learners. A teacher who has adequate knowledge about the audience, he tries to understand what are the physical characteristics, the cognitive characteristics, the social characteristics, the emotional characteristics of the audience. He understands the level of intelligence, the level of aptitude they possess, the interest they have for the topic at hand, the kind of activities they would prefer, whether independent or group. Then the teacher can pitch the communication to the level of the audience. If you know your students do not have mastery over the language, English language, and they would prefer a mixed language, a teacher who understands that can use a mixed language in the class for the benefit of the students. And the role of the teacher is to facilitate rather than by using a very difficult words confuse the student. That is not the duty of the teacher. So you will pick up words which are simple, easy to understand, and you try to facilitate learning on the part of the students. Another factor which is important is the verbal and non-verbal communication skills on the part of the teacher. I, as a teacher, has a very poor pronunciation. And what will happen? I will not be able to convey the right thing to my student. They will also learn the wrong pronunciation of the words, right? Now, if I am using, say for example, people like, I had a colleague here, always his hand used to be here, वो अपने बालों को rotate करते रहते थे. Now, this becomes a distraction for the people, audience, the data. So as a teacher, if I know that I am using certain gesture which is not desired, right, that may create a hindrance in the process of communication. अब देखिए, there are many filler words used by the teachers. One of my colleagues used to use this word you know. And believe me, एक दिन 25 minutes में उन्होंने 65 times he used the word you know. And at the age of 50 at that time, I was simply putting up frequencies. How many times he uses the word you know. I didn't pay attention to the message, but I only counted the frequency. And your student or my students, they are from adolescent group. है ना, 18 ऐसे आ रहे हैं अभी आपके 16, 17, 18 में 18 में एडल्ट हो जाएगा, उससे पहले एडोलेसेंट है. So they people are more attuned to entering into this kind of behavior, putting up frequencies, and you are known by the name you know. होता है ऐसे, you know आ गया, क्या कलाम हो जाता है आपका. So try to pay attention to your verbals, that is the language which you use, है ना. नॉन वर्बल में बहुत सारी चीजें आती हैं. आपकी rate of delivery, the pitch, whether you are speaking at the same pitch or you bring variation in the pitch. एक ही pitch पे बोलते हो तो बोर्डम है, वही करते हो तो you sustain the interest level of your learners. Then your non-verbal will also your pronunciation and articulation. The better the articulation, the better would be the pronunciation. Non-verbal में आपका eye contact आता है. So you maintain an eye contact with your students, or you talk to the walls, or you talk to the roof. Many of the teachers, they talk to the board. They talk to the PowerPoint presentation rather than talking to the audience. So think over what verbal and non-verbal communication skills you need to possess to make your communication in the classroom effective. So already on the YouTube, my session on oral communication is available. You can view that for details. And then the knowledge of teaching methodology, teaching children, teaching adults. There's a lot of difference. When the student becomes an adult, then you have to use the experience which he brings to the classroom. The knowledge, skills and attitude. The student is more focused. How this knowledge will be applicable at the world of work. He is more concerned about them rather than simply learning the topic. So think over who is your audience. Are they children? Are they adolescents? Are they adults? And you need to know the principles of teaching children, teaching adolescents, teaching adults, and accordingly you can make your communication effective. Then flexibility in approach. As a communicator in the classroom, a teacher cannot be rigid. Say for example, I have gone with a PowerPoint and there is no electricity available and I cannot show the PowerPoint, and many of my colleagues would say, okay friends, we'll have the class tomorrow, or we just spend the time and then we waste the time and then tomorrow again I'll go to the same topic and teach. But the versatility of the teacher is, whatever may come or go, you need not bank upon the PowerPoint presentation. Everything is here in your cognitive repertoire. You should be able to use the board instead of the PowerPoint and deal with the topic spontaneously. Or say for example, you have thought of that you will use the group discussion in the class. You have assigned the topic to your students. You ask them to come prepared to the classroom. But when they come, they have not read the material. They are not ready for the group discussion. So मैं ये नहीं कह सकती आप तैयारी नहीं करके आए तो जाओ. At the same time, you should be ready with an alternate strategy. If they are not ready, now you come into the picture, you start teaching that topic and the matter finish it. So you are flexible in your approach, you shift from one to another approach to make your communication effective. So in addition to that, a teacher needs to be free from biases and prejudices. We have a lot of heterogeneity in the classrooms. Our students are from rural area, urban area. Some of them are highly intelligent, of average intelligence, of low intelligence, below average intelligence. Some are with English medium, some are with Hindi medium, Punjabi medium, and so on. Students come from elite families, from average families, from poor families. I, as a teacher, I have boys and girls in the class. I need to treat all the students on the same platform. I need to respect the individuality of the student. I cannot discriminate on the basis of class, creed, color, and gender. So pay attention to this, and if you treat them at par, you have very cordial relationship with your student, and your communication becomes effective. Okay? It's very open because everybody is now treated with respect. Now go to the another one, message related. The message. You have certain objectives to be achieved. So be clear. Is it I want my students to understand the concept? I want my students to apply the principles? Is it that whatever I'm going to teach, they need to be able to solve problems by applying the learned knowledge and skills? Or I want my students to demonstrate the skill? What is it that you expect your students to do at the end of instruction? That must be clear. And then, whatever message you select, that should be relevant to those objectives. यही तो करते हैं ना, जो हमने objectives लिखे हैं, उनको ध्यान में रख के we select the content from various sources, and there should not be this content should be sequenced, properly sequenced, and you should not enter into overload of the information or underload of the information. बच्चों को लगना चाहिए जितना मटेरियल उनको चाहिए था, जितनी इंफॉर्मेशन आपकी तरफ से आनी चाहिए थी, वो उनको मिली. There should not be overloading of information or underload. कि उनको लगा कुछ नहीं पढ़ाया मैम ने, तो कुछ दिया ही नहीं जाता. Right? Then use appropriate symbols, verbal and non-verbal, right? अगर आप resistance show करना चाह रहे हो तो क्या करते हो? Symbol बनाते हो ना? How that symbol is shown? Yes? Lines. है ना? आप ये symbol use करते हो तो क्या होता है? Okay. और क्या होता है? Okay. So another thing, when you are designing a message, make use of the language which is simple, easy to understand. इस भाषा का प्रयोग करेंगे. और आप अपने messages में, because we need to change our teaching from teacher center to student center, lot of activities, exercises, they need to be built in. So उसके लिए message itself as a component of exercises, problem solving activities, and so on, so as you can engage your learner in the classroom situation. And you should use examples and non-examples. So message must have component of examples and non-example. If you are teaching a principle, tell the situations where it is applicable, where it is not applicable. If you are giving an example of, say, right angle triangle, there is equilateral triangle, there is other triangles. So try to have examples as well as non-examples. Then instructional methods and media. Instructional methods and media, when we talk about, for achieving objectives, you need to select appropriate methods. That method, lecture doesn't suffice every time. So you need to find out what my purpose is. So friends, I stop here. So we have received the guests.
Good afternoon. And also teacher आपकी हमारे यहाँ की
जी सर.
आपका नाम संविदा बतावा है.
So my friends at the various centers and ETV studio, it gives me Hanji. It gives me immense pleasure in extending a very hearty welcome to the chairman of Simplex Infrastructure, Dr. B.D. Mundraji, and he just give you a brief profile of him a little later. And we have with us Dr. M.P. Punya, the director of the institute, that is NITTR, and the senior manager, chief manager HRM, Mr. Dr. Pramod K. Mishra from Simplex Infrastructure with us, and they are going to interact with all of you for some time. And we have two centers connected to us this time. One is the Baba Farid Institute of Technology and Management, and this is in Punjab at Batinder. And then we have Maridura Polytechnic, Lakshmandar. So about 30-35 teachers, they are attending the program from the mobile network centers, and we have a group of 9 teachers who have come to attend instructional delivery program, and about 22 teachers who have come from Multinational Institute of Technology, Jaipur, for attending a program on advanced pedagogy. So they are with us in the ETV studio. So friends, for your benefit, let me first give you a brief introduction of the chief guest here. He's an entrepreneur par excellence and is well known in the industrial fraternity as the chairman of Simplex Infrastructures Limited. He started his career at a very young age of 19 at various construction sites. Under his leadership, Simplex is now one of the leading construction companies in India. And during the past 50 years of untiring service to the industry, with fine blending of his vast technical knowledge and keen business acumen, Dr. Mundra has brought about basic research and development in foundation, geotechnology, plant and machineries, planning and management system, in-house development of enterprise resource planning, introduction of new approaches on training and development of engineers, staff and workers. In the recent past only, he was conferred the doctorate degree by Singhania University of Rajasthan for his outstanding contribution to the field of infrastructure and construction industry in India. Under his apt leadership and astute management, Simplex Infrastructure Limited has been placed in the upper echelons in construction and infrastructure industry and conferred with a number of national and international prestigious awards. Some of these include Best Subcontractor internationally for power project construction from Siemens, Germany, overall Best Managed Company by Asia Money, ranked amongst the top 5 India's fastest growing large company by Business Today, International Quality Summit Award held at New York, recognized by World Confederation of Business as inspirational company with all its rights and privileges, and likewise Sir is a laureate member of many prestigious awards for his invaluable contributions to the industry, and these include Lifetime Achievement Award by Builders Association of India, Vishwakarma Award, then World Leader Business Person Award, and then Lifetime Achievement Award by EPC World 2012. His professional association includes Honorary Life Fellow of the Institution of Engineers, Fellow Member of Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, UK, Indian Concrete Institute's Founder Member and Trustee of National Institute of Construction Management and Research, to mention a few. And in addition to that, Sir is totally devoting his time in the pursuit of engineering endeavors and has made considerable contributions to the field of literature, modern science, and classical music. And under his befitting guidance, some of the eminent literatures which have been published by Bharatiya Vidya Mandir include Indian Cultural Encyclopedic Survey, that consists of 8 volumes, Bharatiya Chitrakala, Bharatiya Murtikala, Rosary of Hymens, selected poems of Surdas, and so on. So you can see a very versatile personality who is amongst us in the program on instructional delivery. Sir, on behalf of the Institute, again we welcome you to this Institute and to the program on instructional delivery. Friends, along with him, Dr. Pramod K. Mishra is with us from Simplex Infrastructure. He is Chief Manager HRM in Simplex Infrastructure. And we have Dr. M.P. Punya, Director of the Institute. Maybe on the very first day, he was also not there in the inaugural session. So Dr. M.P. Punya joined this institute in 2012 July, and prior to this he was Dean Planning and Development at MNIT Jaipur, and he is a recipient of State Government Award for his meritorious services rendered to the state of Rajasthan, where he set up 3 institutions including a center of e-governance, and he was responsible for reviving one of the colleges of engineering at Bikaner, which is now designated as a university. And sir always give reference of Dr. Mundra, how he has played an important role in that institution and how Sarpad has been instrumental in bringing him to the institution and then seeking his guidance and support for development of that institute. And friends, let me share with you, when Dr. Punya joined, he has given academic leadership to the institute and brought this institute to an international platform. And recently he has been to Bangkok, and he has been vested with the responsibility of organizing programs and sharing the experiences of this institute at international fora. So not going in details of, we are enjoying his leadership, and institute is gaining greater heights under his leadership. So with these words, I welcome sir also to the instruction planning and delivery program, module 2. Now I request Dr. M.P. Punya to formally welcome Dr. Mundra and Dr. Mishra.
Thank you, Professor B. K. Tulsi ji, Honorable Sri B.D. Mundra ji, Sri Pramod Mishra ji, all the participants connected at TTV studio as well as at different centers. On behalf of NITO Chandigarh, I welcome you. Sorry for MNIT officers, I was not here, I couldn't receive you people, I was away. But certainly it's not late today, I am welcoming you people. Hope your stay here in Chandigarh is comfortable. As far as NITO Chandigarh is concerned, sir, we are having this type of 4 institutes in India, being funded by Government of India, that is Ministry of Human Resource Development. We have been started in 1967. When we started in 1967, 4 institutes of this nature, same mandate, and our name was TTI, Technical Teachers Training Institute. And sole mandate which was given to us, that was basically to impart training to polytechnic teachers. Technical Teacher Training Institute imparting training to polytechnic teachers. You can imagine in 1967, when country was in a very bad shape, we were fighting with China, we were fighting with Pakistan, and that time Government of India was planning to have training center for polytechnic teachers. You can imagine how visionary people our country had. And certainly our responsibility is also quite high, because in that tough time these institute has been set up. After 2003, our mandate of all 4 institutes have been changed. It has become NITTR. In place of TTR, it has become NITTR, National Institute of Technical Teachers Training and Research, where not only polytechnics, now engineering colleges, management institutes, pharmacy, every institute which is being run by AICT, our responsibility is basically to impart training to all those teachers. In our region, which we are looking after, Chandigarh is looking after northern part of the country, starting from J&K to UP. In these 9 states, we are having 4,500 institutes. When we are having 4,500 institutes, in those institutes you can imagine if each and every institute is having some hundreds supporting staff and teachers. So 4,500 multiplied by 100, I think we'll be needing a calculator for that purpose to find out how many teachers and supporting staff are working. So when I joined this institute, I discussed with my faculty members that how many teachers in a year we are able to train. The conclusion was of that meeting that around 4,500 teachers in a year we are able to train. So I said in our region we are having 4,500 institutes, and in a year we are able to train 4,500 teachers. It means one institute, one teacher. So our whole life will go, if we are reaching to the farthest corner of the country, that from UP, you people are coming, we want to reach the end corner of that corner of the country, in a remote area, in a village where there is a polytechnic teacher, where there is a engineering teacher, we want to reach that teacher to motivate them, to promote them, for the purpose of confidence building. Then, that time we have started this mode of training, ICT-based training program. We people are sitting there, teachers are sitting there, only BD Mumraji is placed at one place, but a number of places teachers are able to listen to him. So first year, I joined here around 2 years back in the month of July 2012. So in first year when we started this mode of training, our strength has grown to some 10,500 teachers. In place of 4,500, it has become 10,500. Last year, the training which were imparted for 14,000 teachers, more than 14,000 teachers. This year we have planned for 20,000 teachers. And when this 12-5-year plan will be ending in 2017, our target is in a year we should be able to impart training to 100,000 teachers. Say 8 lakh teachers को हमने training देना है साल में. So course of training is going down because teachers are sitting at faraway places, no TAD, nothing will have to do. Expert is at one place. Teachers, our training program starts at around 9:30, 10. So before that when they are taking their classes, it closes at 4:30. After that when they are taking their classes, so productivity has gone up, course of training has gone down, number of teachers to whom we are able to touch, that has gone up. So that's our contribution in fact. That's the contribution of this institute. These are about the short-term training program. Then we are in long-term training program for MTech, PhD, around 700 and the MTech students are registered here, mainly teachers. This institute is for imparting training to teachers. So in MTech around 700 teachers, then PhD around 70-75 teachers are pursuing their PhD also. As far as BD Mingaji's introduction is concerned, from MNIT Jaipur for some time, from 2004 to 2010, I was principal at Government Engineering College, Bikaner. You can't imagine what type of location this city is having. Temperature in summer becomes around 49 degrees Celsius. Institute which I was having, it was in a pathetic state in 2004. It was more or less closed. It was closed by AICT. No teacher, no building, no books. AICT has closed and government has sent to me, state government of Rajasthan has sent to me that you please take over the charge of principal, but no money. No teacher, no money, no building, nothing is there. You take over the charge of that institute and run that show. You can't imagine that what tough situation I had. When I left that institute in 2010, 2004 to 2010 I was principal there. When I was left, that time we were having 7,000 students there, 300 faculty members. And fee collection from the students, because it was self-financing, government of Rajasthan self-financing, fee collection was around 30 crores. The contribution which I got from BD Mundraji, that was beyond imagination. He is from Bikaner. So foremost thing for me basically was to have students. First of all, the institute will be moving in self-financing mode if you are having students. If you are having students, then you will be having fee collection. If fee collection is there, you can find good quality teachers. If good quality teachers are there, quality of students, then placement, everything that is related with that with the number of students. But who will be coming for placement purpose in Bikaner? If you are at Jaipur, very good connectivity, everything in NIT Jaipur. If you want to invite any company, everyone is ready to come at NIT Jaipur. But if I am saying to Bikaner, first question when I used to telephone to Mishra ji, HR head, that Mishra ji, we are in Bikaner, we are having one engineering college, please do come for placement purpose from Calcutta. So his question used to be that what time return flight will be from Bikaner. रिटर्न तो फ्लाइट तब होगी जब जाएगी वहाँ पे तो बस ही नहीं जाती, वहाँ रिटर्न फ्लाइट मिलती, ऐसा तो संभव है नहीं। बट अगर हार मान लो आपने कोई चैलेंज लिया है और इस चीज से हार मान लो वहाँ फैसिलिटी नहीं है, तो दैट अगेन दैट्स व्हाट इज योर कंट्रीब्यूशन। इफ यू वांट टू डू समथिंग विद टू टेक द चैलेंजेस। तो सबसे पहले मैंने काम शुरू किया कि बीकानेर का ऐसा कौन व्यक्ति हो सकता है जिसकी इंडस्ट्री हो, बहुत बड़ा आदमी है, अगर मैं उसको पकड़ लूँ बीकानेर वाले को, तो उनका एक जो है अटैचमेंट भी होता है, सोशल अटैचमेंट भी होता है। सो आई गोट द नेम ऑफ बीडी मुंद्रा जी, दैट इज इन 2000 say somewhere 2007, I think 2007-8, like that. And in that situation, I got the name of B.D. Mundra ji. Someone has told me that he is from Bikaner, but he is settled at Calcutta. There, Calcutta is very दूर है Bikaner से जाना. It's very difficult. When he come to Bikaner? So someone has told me that in a year, only once he comes there for one day. He is having a house in Bikaner. Even he is having a temple also. So Mundra ji is coming to Bikaner only once in a year. So worshipping in that temple. So I was searching that day. I was waiting for that day. बीडी मुंद्रा जी आए और मैं उनका आईजेक करूं, मैं उनको इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज में लेके आऊँ इसको। And I gone there for IJT. मेरे को पता चला आज आए हुए हैं, and morning around 10 o'clock he'll be coming out from his house for the purpose of going to the temple. Around 9 I reached in front of his gate. मेरे पास वहाँ पे पुरानी सी एम्बेसडर गाड़ी भी थी सरकार की जो है। I went there with that vehicle. At 10 o'clock exactly he came out. Just he was planning to go into the temple. In between I spoke to him, sir, I'm from Bikaner, I'm heading this institute. तो आपने कुछ इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज है क्या बीकानेर में? पहला क्वेश्चन ये था कि बीकानेर में इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज है क्या? I said it's there. And please spare some time. Please do visit that institute. I want you just half an hour. Said how far it is? Just 10 minutes it will be taking. I am having vehicle. You please do come with me. 10 minutes going, 10 minutes staying there, 10 minutes coming back. Half an hour time is needed to me. Said साहब तैयार हो गए। तो मेरे को पता था एक बार अगर तैयार हो जाएंगे फिर मैं जो है प्रभावित कर लूंगा। ये मेरे को विश्वास था। We went there. And that was a very special institute, in fact, because the attitude of the students, the talent of the students, because that is a tough area. Even the students who are coming from a very remote area and through a background, they are highly talented and very, very laborious, in fact. So we have entered into the institute around 10-15, say. We have started to take round here and there and shown workshop, every facility, infrastructure, business, manufacturing, many activities actually we have started in that institute. उस इंस्टीट्यूट में राउंड लेते इनको 4 बज गए। 4 बजे के करीब घर से फोन आया सेठ साहब के वहां से, मैडम का फोन आया, सेठ साहब वेयर आर यू? आपने न तो पूजा की है, न मंदिर आए हैं, न आपने स्नान किया है, न आपने जो है भोजन ग्रहण किया, प्रसाद ग्रहण किया है। इमीडिएट रिप्लाई ऑफ बीडी मुंद्रा जी इज व्हाट दैट आई एम इन ए टेम्पल, आई एम इन एजुकेशन टेम्पल। मैडम आप भोजन कर लीजिए, आप पूजा कर लीजिए, as and when I will be free, I will come to us. Yes, that was the attachment in fact. After that, every month he used to come to Bikaner, that too for that engineering college. And it's open, means open, this thing freedom was given by him to me, that you please try to do different industries for the purpose of placements. जितने हो जाते हैं उतने ठीक है, बाकी जो बच जाते हैं, please give to me. That type of help he has extended to that, and that's why that institute has rose to that level where 7,000 students we had. And in 2008-2009, that institute was declared as Model Institute of Government of Rajasthan. Because in 2004 I said it was a closed institute, it was a sick institute. In 2008, Government of Rajasthan has declared that institute as Model Institute of Government of Rajasthan, and now in 2013, it has been converted into Technical University of Rajasthan. That much growth of that institute, what I am owed to Vidi Mundraji, that he has given that much support, and some type of support I need, because that was a small temple, now it's a big temple, it's a government of India's temple, so I need your support here. The program which is being conducted today here, sir, teachers are from NIT, even from NIT Jaipur, it's a proud for us, we are able to attract NIT Jaipur teachers also, from various engineering colleges, polytechnic teachers are there. One session we are keeping, because these days the challenges, the difficulty is, industry people are saying that whatever training we are providing in engineering colleges to students, that training is not sufficient. Only 20%, 25% students are employable. So it's a bad name in fact to us. They are complaining to us कि आपके बच्चे तैयार करें वो हमारे काम के नहीं. Parents are putting lot of money, spending lot of money, and when product comes after 4 years, the stakeholders are saying that it is not useful for us. आप मार्केट में जाएं, सब्जी लेने जाएं, 10 रुपए की सब्जी ले, अगर वो खराब हो सब्जी तो आप कितना लड़ते हो उससे? पेरेंट्स की जिनकी आपने 10 लाख रुपए लगा दिए 4 साल में, and when product is getting, then it is said that it is no use of that one. आप सोचो कितना खराब, 10 रुपए की सब्जी के लिए अपने इतना झगड़ सकते हो, उसको 10 लाख लगाए हुए हैं. How bad he may be feeling. So that type of complaints are coming in fact. So one session always we are keeping in these programs and training programs. We are inviting industry people here. We are inviting teachers. We are inviting even students also. We want to ask from industry people that what type of students you are needing, what rates our students should have. So that's the target of this one. Teachers are here. They are connected with us. We want that what difficulties you people are facing, the students which are entering into their organization, what shortcomings they are having. Exactly those words we would like to have from your mouth. That's the target of your visit, that's the target of this meeting, and thank you very much, sir, for sparing time. And people may be knowing Bikaner to you, but much more than in Neetu Chandigarh are known to you, sir, because continuously we are in all the programs, continuously these examples we are extending to all the teachers. So it's a wonderful time, it's a great time for us. Thank you very much.
Now friends, I take this opportunity to request Dr. Mundra to say a few words to the audience of the program.
Dr. Vinayji, Dr. Tulsi, Mishraji, academics and parents, and my sisters in audience. I am drowned in the ocean of the affection of Dr. Punya. He has showered me with so much affection. There is nothing about that. I am a man from desert. Born in Bikaner, brought up in Bikaner. After matriculation, I went to Calcutta. Used to live with my grandfather and did my graduation in science at Calcutta. And then, instead of going to engineering college, my father asked me to come in Simplex, and then he asked me to, sent me to one senior gentleman. He was a British engineer. Simplex Infrastructures was a British company established in 1924, and my father took over in 1947. So his name was Mr. T.I. Lake. Now I went to Mr. T.I. Lake and he said, you will go to such and such project, and you call one very senior supervisor, or you can call him construction engineer, that ask him that you see to it that this boy is trained and well learned. Okay? So I was taken to a project site which is about 25 kilometers or 30 kilometers from my house. Later on, I learned that in the morning I had to, after getting out from my house, I had to take a bus, go to railway station, take a train, get down, and walk 2 kilometers before reaching the site, before reaching the project site. Anyway, well, he took me there and asked me to come next day, punctually at 8 o'clock. Now, it will take about an hour and a half, because in those days we didn't have electric, that good electric. I'm talking of what? 1960, 61. Now, why I'm narrating you? I'm telling you my first teacher in construction. So when I went there, well, they asked me that one Mr. Banerjee was there, and he asked me that, okay, tomorrow you come in khaki trousers, not in white, and roll up your sleeves. There, the levels are being washed in Calcutta. In those days, they didn't use the stone chips. They were pebbles or gulls, and they were covered with red colored dust because they were coming out from Turkey. So what they were doing, they were putting gravels in a small tin basket and rotating in the empty water-filled drum like this and dumping it. And my job was to put my hand in, take it out and see how much dust was in it. The good bit of dust was coming in my hand, and then it was coming on my clothes, and I became carefully wet. In the afternoon, then after all that, well, we had gravel wash. Now you go down to that mystery and he will teach you some about bigger inches. So I went there, well, there was an old mystery and he told me that not today, I will teach you tomorrow. So okay, tomorrow morning again at 8 o'clock I went there. And then he asked me to open this, take out all the parts of this engine and wash it in diesel, and after washing it in diesel, whichever part is defective you go and change it. I took a wrench and the plier and I opened it and dumped all the parts in the small bucket. And then he said that all I had to change the defective parts. So I took out whichever were worn out. I went to stores and got it. He said, okay, good. Now you reassemble it. My God. How am I going to reassemble that? He said, go and reassemble. You are stumbling. I said, sir, please tell me how to do it. Well, no. No, you want it, you go. Now I was, and here are simply smoking BD and sitting. Nothing else. And smiling at me. So there was another boy like me who was an engineer, who was learning. I asked him, भाई क्या करेगा? You do one thing. You go to store, take out the spare part manual, and see. You will see the assembly. So put the spare part manual. And then started putting the parts in the proper sequence. When I started putting them proper sequence, then the jargon mechanic said, okay, well, now you are learning. I did that. Then he started teaching me the nuances of a properly repaired and assembled diesel engine. How to fine tune it. He was looking at my dedication. In the evening, when I was returning home, my clothes were black on one side and red on another side. So one comfort was that nobody was coming near me in the train. In the crowd, I had good, easy passage. What I mean to say is that in those days, the training and development was like that. When I went to Mr. Lake again, after a few days, he asked me to go and look after the private site. Then, how to fix up the depth of the foundation? He gave me a book. I remember it was R.B. Chalice on foundation engineering, and I went on reading that. Although I was not an engineer, but I studied soil mechanics and foundation engineering and all the formula for pipe foundation. And then I used to go and ask him, our other engineers. So that I learned gradually the foundation engineering. Similarly, I had to learn plant engineering, gearing. Even there was a day when I was asked to see the British code for keys and keywords. The process of learning was little different. Engineering college was popular. Good old Bengal Engineering College was there, Jadavpur Institute was there, all those colleges were there. But even both students were made to slog at the project site from very beginning. And teachers from the issues, they used to come, or we used to go to them and interact with them. Now, one thing which has happened, the interaction between industry and the issues, that has vanished. When we used to have problems, we used to go to them and ask them. Second, the boys who are coming out from college, they are not getting sufficient time and opportunity to learn the practical side of it. Let me ask you one thing. To become a lawyer, you have to attend after completing your law graduation, you have to attend the chamber of a lawyer for 2 years. To become a doctor, after doing your degree, you have to be attached to a hospital and do your internship. And then to be successful in practice, you have to be attached to a doctor and practice in him. Now, for a doctor it is necessary, for a lawyer it is necessary, it may be necessary for some other profession also, but it is not necessary for engineers. To work under a senior practicing engineer. Then how can we become proficient in our profession? This is one question which is coming up in mind. Second, we used to have such a sweet relationship between the students industry and the professors in the course, they were so highly respected. So highly respected. And that level has gone. That has not only gone for engineering colleges. The curriculum taught was not perfect. No. But the depth to which they used to take the students, so knowledge was deep, not vast. Now what we need at the private sector, not in the industry, there are two types of jobs for the business. One is in the design office, where you sit and do the calculations and design. Although, without working under a good designer, it is very difficult. A lot of errors are being committed by new engineers. Good number of them are not coming to error years or age because they were hushed up or covered. That I know. And but wait now. There is some application of engineering knowledge in design office. Only partly, say maybe 20-25%. But when it comes to field, all your theory of stress strain diagram or strength of material, whatever you read, theoretically you are designing this thing or that thing. There's no design work to do over there, it's just practice. To construct a bridge where you are not designing the bridge where you are just building it. Now the construction technique and technology, that is not being taught so much. What is being taught is civil engineering. But what we need, construction engineering. Now there, besides the normal civil engineering, we require little bit knowledge of plant, we require little bit knowledge of management, we require little bit knowledge of planning, and we require knowledge of man management. But what this curriculum was saying in those days, how it used to be covered up in those days. The professors, they used to spend more time and take their students out sometime for practical training. Somebody from college used to come to us. Summertime, definitely, our office used to be full with the students from BU college as well as university. And similarly, besides that engineering and technical skill, they used to teach them quite a lot about how to be a good member of the society, how to lead a good life, how to be a good human being. And the relationship between the students and the teachers and students among themselves, that used to be very sweet. I still see that. You see, those human values, which was part of our academic life in those days, that is also missing. As a result, in this is a situation in the country, that a lot of this development is taking place. We are putting in a lot of energy into the system. By way of knowledge, by way of money, but more energy into the system, there will be more forces of disintegration. It's the law, it's the nature. Now, to cover it up, we require a structure in the society which will bind it together. That role used to be played by the teacher. They used to give the ethical values. They used to build us up. And then R&D work was also there. So if I talk about what needs to be done today and what we used to do, it's a long story, but in short I would like to say, pay attention to technology, no doubt about it. But pay attention to appropriate technology which the economic conditions of this country demands. And I am finding quite a lot of techniques which are being used that is not right for us. High capital intensive technique is being used. Whereas with better practice, better training of man, little more spending on man, but no capital cost, the cost will be low. There are a number of places I have studied. Second, it is not that what machine you use, it is how you use it, that is important. The classic example which is being quoted, that Pakistan had a cyber jet and India had that. But Indian Air Force was much better equipped to handle that. And they could shoot it up. So it is also important that how you handle the technology and how the technology should be applied. So appropriate technology, considering the technological conditions of the country, the practice of using it, and last and most important is, are you doing R&D as required for this country? Unless you keep on doing R&D, you will be left behind. You keep on depending on Germany or Japan or Malaysia or even China. And sometimes I feel why we should design our own equipment, own technique. The people are all very brilliant, outstanding brain we have, but we are not applying. These are the three things which often comes to my mind about technology. But there are softer side, attitude and human values. That has to be developed. To be a good engineer, ultimately he has to become a good manager, or if he has to become a good manager, he has to have that knowledge. And lastly, we have to connect with people. We have to get connected. That's why I tell Dr. Mr. also many times that in my view, HR should not mean human resource. HR should mean human relations. Please try to teach human relations. And how to develop that relationship between the upper section, lower section, middle section with each other. And for that purpose, number of attempts have to be made. For this, we have to ultimately, as I feel, the time has come, this demands that we develop our own culture for 21st century, which will take our country forward. This culture which we have borrowed, partly we have taken from here, partly we have taken from there. Please think what sort of culture, technical culture we are developing. What sort of working culture we are. And we as teachers and scholars, we are looking forward to you. As a member of the society, the responsibility is at your doorstep. Please show us the way, guide us through. And with these two words, I request that it is first, we have to lead the society in proper technological path and proper application of technology, so we can have a better life for this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your very learned experience and doing the failure analysis of the existing system with the earlier system of education and training and development at the workplace, and also highlighting the changes that need to be brought into the curriculum, the kind of instruction, the processes, the R&D, and the vision for the technological development in India for the 21st century. So I would first request Baba Farid Institute of Technology and Management, if any participating teacher would like to pose any question or would like to raise an issue at this juncture, he or she is welcome. Ji. Baba Farid Institute of Technology and Management.
Yes, ma'am. No question is there on our behalf. Sir has
Okay.
very well said that we need to improve our curriculum. We need to more practical things in our syllabus to make students employable.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now over to Maradwa Polytechnic Lakshmandar. Ji, any member would like to raise any issue or would like to seek any clarification? जी बोलिए. और ETV studio, yes please go ahead. आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है. यदि आपका माइक म्यूट है. हाँ जी, now please speak.
Hello.
हाँ जी please.
I want to ask a question to sir. Why 70% engineers are unemployment? Yet when the global industrialization occurred in India also, why the Indian engineers of 70% are unemployed?
हमें ये नहीं चाहिए सर. Can this be?
You see, first of all, the role which engineers are required to play, if we find that they are unable to play, then why we should employ them? And recently, after training the supervisors little bit, say for 2 months on in classroom and 2-3 months in the field, and they are taking over good bit of role of engineers. Then how people will employ engineers? So engineers have to learn the trade on which they are getting employed. If they don't learn the trade, I am afraid even those 30% will come down to 15%. Oh. And if they learn the trade, well, India will go up much more. Because then we will take more jobs and employ you. Not only in India, but outside India too. We are incompetitive. If we go out to Africa or Far East, we are priced out even in Sri Lanka. So our engineers, they have to wake up. 30% somehow are being used in the country because so far the supervisors were not being trained. Now gradually that is also declining. So wake up, my friends. Very.
Thanks.
Hanji, any other question from your side?
Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. From the ETV studio, any faculty colleague would like to ask any question or raise any issue? Yes, friends, we have faced so many problems, and
We have designed our syllabus and curriculum according to the requirement of industry. In the whole year, we have approximate 4 to 5 months for the theory session only. And there is no industry visit in first year, second year, and only single visit for the industry in the last semester, in the seventh year, seventh sem. So why we should not change our curriculum or syllabus according to the university?
एक बात हो भाई साहब, you want to learn, so your hands are like this. Hands of industry is not like this.
That's why
So if you want to learn, then you have to go to industry. And industry cannot teach you here. What I will teach you? How to pour concrete? What is the frequency of a vibrator? Or what is the pumping clearance of an engine? Or how to organize, how many labors are required? These are practical side of life. So unless you go and spend and work there, you cannot.
that's why we have to need to change our curriculum according to that.
That I discussed this, and I will urge upon Dr. Punya also. I discussed this at some of the universities. That unless you do this, the students which are coming out will not be of use to industry. So, at least make curriculum, it is your responsibility, make curriculum in such a way that they learn the practical side. Now, I give you some facts I want to tell you. One, the answer from one vice chancellor was that it is your corporate social responsibility to train. I turned around and asked him, sir, then what is your responsibility?
What is your responsibility?
Please tell me. This is your limit. So, we have recommended in the Construction Industry Development Council have recommended to Planning Commission that there should be minimum 6 months training, if not 12 months. Then the degree should be given. And I have asked Professor Punya, saying it in his grant, your curriculum which you have, you don't require 4 years. You can compress it. If you study hard, you can do it in 3 years or maybe 2 years. At least 2.5 years. Do it in 3 years. And give us rest of the time. We will bring you up with a proper system of training. This is what my recommendation is. But I am in no position to say anything.
In curriculum there is training. Everywhere there is training. In some cases, say 30 days, 45 days. Even some of the universities, just like Punjab Technical University, it is for 6 months. Unfortunate part is, sir, the training is not structured. Student is going first day for the purpose of registration. On 45th day is going for taking the certificate. Our sincerity part, actually no, the sincerity of the role the teacher which has to play. There is some mismatch in fact between the role. Just some interviews we are conducting, and forget about industry part. I am saying our institute, many things are there in our institute. Enormous facilities, laboratories, everything is there. One interview we were conducting some 2-3 months back for electronics engineers. They were graduate. After passing engineering, even some of them were pursuing MTech also. In engineering percentage was 75, 76, 80%. Even Madam Professor P.K. Tulsi was with me. We were conducting those interviews. For electronics graduates, I am saying. First question which I have asked from those electronics graduates that have you seen oscilloscope? No, sir. Multimeter? No. Any electronic component, diode, anything? No. Even resistance? No, sir, don't ask these practical question, ask theory question. What I'll be needing, what I'll do with you, I need a person who can handle the problems with their hands. No, foremost part is that skill part, hands-on part. Then this theory part, everything will be coming into picture. What industry will be doing in showing this oscilloscope in the laboratory? That industry will be coming in your institute and they will be asking us to show that oscilloscope to the students? No, industry won't do. Why industry should do? If they are needing 10 strengths, when they are advertising, giving advertisement, Simplex is giving advertisement that I am needing 10 engineers. 1000 applications are coming. Out of 10, 1000 will be able to select 10. Why will be imparting training to them? Foremost task is our house has to be strengthened. Our institute, whatever facility they are saying, what industries are saying, they are saying fundamentals of the strength should be clear. If you have studied thermodynamics, fundamentals of thermodynamics should be clear. If you have studied fluid mechanics, that should be clear. If you have studied solid mechanics, those fundamentals should be clear. That application part will do. Just basics you should know. His communication skills, his attitude part, is working in a group, leadership qualities, management qualities. These things those people are ready. Even when they are saying that 4-year course you will shrink into 2.5 years, that is more than sufficient. They are saying. Sometimes I am thinking our engineering course is even less than 2.5 years. It is not for 4 years. Yeah, I am saying. First year we are spending into physics, chemistry, maths, English like that one. So 1 year more or less is going, no engineering into that one.
Mostly first year student asks many times this question. Why do we study the chemistry, physics, and
Yes. In that case your curriculum is coming into picture. The curriculum is coming into picture. Then second year, third year, just after completion of third year, for the purpose of placement, companies are coming to the institute. What they are coming, civil engineering strand. When he is appearing into the placement, he is appearing for Infosys, he is appearing for TCS, he is appearing for IBM. So civil engineering graduate who is supposed to be graduating after doing 1 year that project everything, he is being selected into that software industry. So in 4th year he doesn't have any interest in civil engineering. What he is planning? He dreams for the software development. And what software? Just data entry. No software development. Software development, if someone is doing that of strength of computer engineering background, then 4 years that was seriously well done. He will be doing what I can do. I have not studied computer engineering at all, and I am entering into that profession. Then we are not doing justice. So how long your engineering is? First year we have spent like that one. Final year the student is not taking into interest. In 2 years, then semester break, examination, everything is coming into picture. Now our engineering is not 2.5 years, it is 1.5 years. Roughly 1.5 years. So then what type of the expertise, the quality, the excellence, global level competency, from where it will be coming? In doctors, Indian doctors you see. Our MBA and with this MBBS course is for 5.5 years. And morning he attends the theory classes, evening he enters the patients in the hospital. Your medical college is connected with the hospital. And what type of patients he is attending? Latest diseases which are there, he is attending that one. That's why our doctors are more acceptable at global level as compared to our engineers in fact. But whatever we are having, industry people are not complaining, they are complaining about our role in fact. And ये 30% प्लेसमेंट है, 60% प्लेसमेंट, 100% प्लेसमेंट होगा अगर ये बेसिक चीजें अपने सिखा दी काम. वॉट एवर इंस्ट्रक्शंस इंडस्ट्री पीपल आर गिविंग टू अवर इंजीनियर्स, इफ दे आर एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड, मैं तो कहता हूँ वो इनके काम का है.
एक बात और मैंने एक देखा ये सब जो मैं सुपरवाइजर डेवलपमेंट का प्रोग्राम करा था, तो आफ्टर थियोरेटिकल training, when they were doing the practical work on number of students, say 10 students or so, we had one guide or a mentor whom they used to approach.
Yes, it is unfortunate in our engineering education system.
That is not there, that guide.
Our mentors means professor, senior teachers, they should be mentor for some 4 teachers, say, no? And the load of the junior teacher should be just 3-4 periods in a week. Our senior professor should have some 25 periods load because he is most experienced. But trend is reverse. Professor is 4 hours, your junior most teacher who is just entering into that profession is taking 25 classes. Our professors are just like dead woods in fact. dead woods, no utilization of them. Salaries are 2 lakhs, and as far as output is concerned, the load is the junior most person who is earning 30,000 rupees. We have given maximum load, and our mentors role more or less vanished, except doing politics in the institute. These universities, even I'm saying national institutes, they have become just like sick industries. They are just like sick industries.
Sir, one thing more, the teachers, lecturers, they should come and work with us.
First of all, they should work there at their homes, sir. Then only they'll be coming.
They should come and then work in field.
Yes, and
Then start teaching. And we will whatever service we can render.
then if we are having that much attachment, this curriculum is sufficient, more than sufficient. They are happy with this curriculum. They are saying you have reduced this one. It is more than sufficient. So, madam, please close.
Okay.
So friends, I think many meaningful, valuable suggestions have emerged from the interaction you had with the chairman Simplex Infrastructure, and you can see the experience at his back and the kind of passion he has for construction industry, and he has thoroughly analyzed what needs to be done in the educational institutions so that our students who pass out, they become more acceptable to the world of work. And very aptly, he has said that we need to change the basic things like the curriculum design component, and where the stress is more on the theory, it has to be on the practical aspects, and more confidence has to be instilled in the students to do the practical work, and thereby we need to have at least 6 months training of the students in the industry to make them more employable and acquire the work skills which will be more useful and applicable in the world of work. And a few more suggestions with respect to that teachers who are working in the educational institution, they themselves should have exposure to the world of work, and they should first gain experience in the field, and then they should go for teaching so that they can relate the teaching with the in-field work, and thereby giving practical examples, and they'll be more in a position to relate it to the application of the theory which they're teaching in the institutions. And they need to play the role of the mentors, senior faculty, and you as being the role models need to develop professional ethics and values among the students. So friends, on behalf of all the participating teachers, on behalf of the Institute, sir, we are extremely thankful to you for joining us in this session and sharing your rich experience in the field with the faculty of the technical institutions and proposing few changes which need to be brought into the technical education system to make it more relevant and appropriate. So thank you very much, and we look forward to your words of wisdom in future too, so that we can improve. Thank you.